Hi, I'm Dr. Claudia, and today I'm going to talk about a very common neurological condition, migraine. Migraines are recurrent episodes of headache accompanied by other symptoms. Sounds simple, right? Well, migraine is actually a complex neurological disorder. Migraine is not just about headache. It is now recognized that migraine is an inherited condition that involves sensory processing. What the heck is sensory processing, you ask? Sensory processing refers to the brain receiving input from the body and the environment and organizing it so we can respond appropriately. Some examples of sensory input are sight, hearing, awareness of movement, and body position. Now you're asking what any of this has to do with migraine. Allow me to break it down. Migraine is made up of 5 different phases. The phases are prodrome, aura, headache, postdrome, and the interictal phase. I'll go through each phase with you. Prodrome. The prodromal phase can occur hours or even days before onset of a headache or aura. Symptoms in this phase can include mood swings and irritability. People also experience food cravings, light sensitivity, neck pain. Some other symptoms that can happen are yawning and frequent urination. Why on earth would a migraine cause these particular symptoms? Well, researchers have used specialized imaging techniques to look at brain activity in persons with migraine. They found that during the prodromal phase, an organ called the hypothalamus is activated. What is the hypothalamus? Here, let's look at this diagram. The hypothalamus is an organ that secretes hormones in a manner that helps the body stay in balance by helping to regulate such things as appetite, temperature, blood pressure, and sleep cycles, amongst other functions. So this very important brain structure gets activated during the prodromal phase of migraine. The imaging also showed that the hypothalamus makes connections in the brain that are different from its usual connections. We don't understand what the significance of the connections is, but they could explain the symptoms of yawning, frequent urination, and cravings. Other areas that are activated during the prodromal phase are the midbrain and the pons, which are part of the brainstem, and some parts of the cortex, the squiggly part of the brain, right there. Sounds complicated, right? Well, it keeps going. The next phase of migraine is the aura phase. Many of you have heard of migraine auras. About 1/3 of people with migraine experience an aura. Traditionally, we think of an aura as occurring before the migraine headache. But the symptoms of an aura can overlap with the headache, or they can happen all on their own. So what are the symptoms of aura? There are visual symptoms such as flashing lights, bright or dark spots in your vision, blurred vision, and even darkened vision. Sensory symptoms such as tingling and pain can happen. You can get motor symptoms like weakness and clumsiness. Some people describe themselves as not being able to speak correctly and may have dizziness. Unlike with the prodromal phase, there are no identified areas of the brain that get particularly activated during the aura phase. Then comes the headache phase. Ouch! The headache starts anytime between minutes to hours after the aura starts. A migraine headache is characterized by throbbing pain, usually starting on one side of the head. The pain can remain stuck in one area or it can radiate to other areas. The headache can be aggravated by regular activities and is often accompanied by hypersensitivity to smells, sound, and light. Nausea is a very significant symptom in about half of those with migraine. all of these symptoms can make migraine quite debilitating. Here's a schematic of one of the pathways involved in the headache phase of migraine. Yes, you notice there's lots of areas? I'm showing this picture because it brings home the point that migraine is complicated. Next is the poststromal phase of migraine. This phase has not been well studied so far. We do know that even though the headache part tends to be the most jarring phase, the poststromal phase can also be debilitating. Most people will suffer symptoms in the 24 to 48 hours after the headache is gone. Most commonly, people complain of feeling tired and weary. Many people have trouble concentrating too. So even though the headache is over, you can still feel lousy. Finally is the interictal phase. Interictal is a fancy word that means the time between migraine attacks. Those who suffer from migraine often have complaints that they might not think are associated with the migraine itself. Physical symptoms include dizziness and feeling off balance. People tend to generally be more sensitive to light, sound, and smell. Cognitive symptoms are also present. Cognitive means having to do with memory and thinking. And again, researchers have found that many areas of the brain are extra activated in those with migraine, even when the headache is not present. So here's a summary of the phases of migraine. So guys, what's the moral of the story? Migraine is complicated. It may seem like it's just a headache, maybe a really bad headache, but let's go through this again. So there's triggers, and we'll go into those and into migraine hygiene in a future talk. There's predispositions, there's times of day or night that may be playing a part in your particular migraine. So then we go to here they call it promontory, but it's prodrome. So cravings, yawning, fluid retention, you're puffy, and then heightened sensory perception. Then there's the aura. We talked about different aura symptoms that you can have. The headache itself, make it bright red here because it's just the worst. Then there's the poststromal phase, which can really feel like a hangover or headache hangover. And finally, the interictal phase. So, do you have migraine? What are your most common symptoms? Tell me in the comments section. Next migraine talk will be about treatments for migraine, so check the calendar. Bye guys, thanks so much.